wanted to take a moment to talk about balls. I mentioned that to my class. I have a class of men, and I said, you know, I had one of my son's friends over and he was asking me about posture. And I said, imagine that you're sitting in your chair, but you don't want to squash your balls. They were mortified. They said, you said that to your son's 22-year-old friend or to his friend? I said, yeah, because his posture was poor. And that's the best way I could tell him is don't squash your balls, right? So we start out with a young age, really, we all love balls. So why do we forget about balls? Well, I don't know. I mean, life takes over. So basically what you want to do is we also, as we get older, we want to think of our body as a ball, okay? So when you're standing, here's a little point of little recommendation, and it'll help your posture. When you're standing, think about a ball underneath your pelvic floor or underneath, this is what we call the pubic bone, right here. Right where your balls are, okay, right here. There's a ball right there. Hold on to that ball. Also, think about a ball between the ankles and above the knees. If you think about holding that ball, okay, right here, look what happens. You're stabilizing with your feet on the floor. Well, there's all sorts of things that we've done, twisted and turned our ankles and twisted and turned our groin and twisted and turned our hips. We haven't even gotten to this yet. But if we think about a ball underneath our pelvic floor, a ball in between our ankles, and then we go around tiny little circles. What does that do? It starts moving us around our axis and starts releasing the back and the hips. So that's the first step to better posture. Okay, one more time. Okay, we're not even going to address this yet. Okay, because that's a whole nother, would mean a ball would go all the way up here. Okay, but let's just address that ball between the ankles, the ball between the groin, the pelvic floor, and we can think about a ball above the knees if we want to. Those are muscles. So we're going to take those little ball and we're going to move it around. Let's move it from the ankles to above the knee. Let's move it to the pelvic floor. Let's bring it back to the rear, right? Let's drop it back down to the inside of the knees, right? But we're keeping that ball together with a little small range of motion and back to the ankles. So now what you've done is your knees don't hurt as much, your hips don't hurt as much, your ankles are starting to moving, you're starting to use your obliques, and you're starting to move around your axis so that when you walk, your feet will land in a better position. And that all started with the balls. I'm sorry to say it, but don't squash your balls. And that goes for men and women, okay? Because you also have a ball right here, the butt. So you're gonna squash that ball? What you can do is you have that ball that's underneath that pubic bone or the pelvic area, bring the ball back a little bit. Back to the rear, now bring it forward. Back and forward. Keep it close in together and look what happens. That gives you a pelvic tilt. So why does our posture suffer as we get older? Because we move like we're a square or we move without the ball. We have to think of ourselves as a ball, or we move too wide and we don't make that ball wider, right? So you start out with small range of motion with a small ball, and you start to release that area around the hips and the pelvis and the back. You loosen it up, and you also strengthen other muscles, small muscles that you can't see. And that's how that helps balance, that helps stability, and that helps you not to squash your balls. Signing off. Thanks. Bye.